The last Masuja day, the CJ was allowed to walk to the dais through a sidewalk. And the MC did not acknowledge his arrival, but he did it to other people. The CJ is not accorded the respect due to his office in quite a number of state functions. CSS and PSS are cleared to enter State House before the CJ. The CJ has got to wait. I have decided that unless I'm treated with the dignity due to my office, I will choose which of those state functions I will attend. I'm told that the VIP lounge at the JKA on the ground floor is locked, is permanently locked. I'm told it is reserved for the DP. I doubt if the DP is even aware of that. I go to the JKA and use the KQ lounge. And by the way, I enjoyed the company of the passengers I get there. We laugh and talk very well. I'm not bothered about that. My problem is this. There are times I receive very, very important visitors. I have received fellow Chief Justices coming to this country. Where do you want me to take them?
Okay, you have heard him, and you were saying that you don't think that's an issue you should be taking with the country and the powers that be. But really, listening to him, a VIP lounge that he's not allowed to access, he's the head of an arm of government, talking about at the state function, Mashujade in Mombasa, he has to use a sidewalk, he's not recognized by the MC, and all the others are recognized. I mean, does it ring a bell?
You see, as much as, we are human beings as well, as much as he might be having issues and he's not happy, first, I don't agree the way he is, lamenting and crying to the public. It's like a mother.
He's not crying.
Yeah, for me, it's a crying.
How would you have wanted him to address his frustrations?
There is a lot of avenues. If you're not happy, there is a lot of avenues you can sort all these issues. A good example is Masujadi. We were there. All the CSs actually were in one bus. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If now every CS say, oh, I'm a CS, I was not treated well. You see, such functions. Me, I was there personally myself, and Honorable Rosa was there as well. Mm-hmm. The CJ was sitting in front. Actually, after the governor, it was the CJ. So these issues, no, I'm not saying he's lying. He might be uncomfortable, but it is not right we bring these issues out in the public. About the VIP, we the members of parliament, we access to the VIP and nobody stops us from going to the VIP. Who stopped him? It is his choice. It is his choice. Maybe he's trying to play politics and he's trying to play public sympathy, really. But who can stop a whole Chief Justice from accessing a VIP lounge?
That's his point exactly. Really? Because tomorrow,
even me, Fatuma Gedi, I go to the VIP lounge and nobody asks me. Actually, I'm very comfortable when I'm there.
Tomorrow, when it's your car that is being taken away, you're not accessing VIP, you will get frustrated because of the lack of recognition that comes with your title. This is an entire Chief of Justice. How else would you have wanted him to show his frustrations? The points that he had made, those are valid points. You guys are the same ones who asked for the same recognition.
They are valid points, yes, but I doubt whether it is there. Okay. I really doubt.
Honorable Rigathi?
Yeah. I think, in all fairness, if what the Chief Justice is alleging is true, the matter needs to be addressed. This is head of the judiciary, he's the president of the Supreme Court. It's an institution, and it's an important institution in this country. And we want to urge these people, protocol at Harambee House, to really be very, very careful, to be very, very careful, the way they handle institutions. Let us not even look at Chief Justice Maraga. Let us look at that institution. It needs to be dignified, because at the end of it all, we expect people to respect court orders. And the way to get people respecting court orders is when that institution is treated with decorum and respect. You remember the other day, a county commissioner in Nyeri refusing to give security to the deputy president. These are the kind of things that are happening in Harambee House that we don't like. And I think even these protocol people, failing to acknowledge the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya when he has traveled over there to Mombasa, I think it is wrong. And in all fairness, I don't think this man is lying. You know,
He's not
even
lying,
even looking at him and listening to him, there is anguish, there is frustration.
Right.
And I think these are small matters that the people in charge of protocol shouldn't make the country go this direction.
Right.
To be discussing such things. They are necessary.
I was actually there, and I know protocol had challenges on Mashujadi, because it's not only the CJ who can say that he had issues with what happened, but I know members of parliament were also not happy with the way they were treated on that day. And in terms of just recognition, the Speaker of National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate were also not recognized. So it is true that the protocol at the yes has to be more keen, because sometimes they might just not think it means anything, but to the people it could be passing another message. So I think they just need to be more keen in how they handle people during such occasions.
All right, I want us to listen to what he had to say in as far as the manpower that is at the judiciary, and also what will have to stall in as far as operations of the institution are concerned. Then I can take the question to former commissioner here.
400,000 cases are filed in our courts every year. With the manpower we have, we are able to clear about 300,000 cases per year. You can do your arithmetic and you will see that the backlog will continue piling up, and that's why we have serious problems. Operations of the mobile courts have been grounded to a halt. The Court of Appeal makes circuits to Mombasa, Nakuru, Eldoret. Now that has been brought to a halt. Nyeri, because of the numbers in the Court of Appeal, we are not able to get a full court. So we are also not going to sit in Nyeri.
All right, so clearly you can see he's already predicting what will happen, or indicating what will happen. And Commissioner, I take interest in, we're seeing the Chief Justice just alone. He serves with the Judicial Service Commission. Where was it, and why would they not accompany him to make such a serious statement for 42 minutes?
Or the Judicial Service Commission?
Right.
Well, I don't know, but I think this time round he was with his judges, and he was trying to just address the issues affecting the judiciary. For sure, what is just said about the backlog of cases is true. Is talking about, lamenting about understaffing in the judiciary. And just recently, they hired more judges, but we are yet to see the president approving them. And it's an issue that needs to be addressed. There is some sort of tug of war between the appointment of judges, between the judiciary and the executive. And the Chief Justice is right to say, let us address this issue. Because at one hand, we Kenyans are saying there's delay of cases. And yet, the delay is caused because of manpower, as he's talking about. So I think he's right to say, I need more judges. We need to empower the judiciary in terms of budget so that they're able to make those circuits. Because without the money, the mobile courts cannot work. Without the money, the judges cannot move around to hear cases in Mombasa, in Eldoret, and other courts. So he has a point, and this is an issue that needs to be addressed, whether by the Judicial Service Commission or by the executive.
So as a commissioner, when you hear these things, that 15,000 cases just last week have had to be suspended because of the mobile courts, simple day-to-day running of an institution, paying salaries, moving up and down the transport that he's talking about, and so forth. But at the same time, it's the same government that is cutting down the financial factors of the judiciary. The same government tomorrow will be saying how we need to strengthen the judiciary to fight corruption. It is a circle that we keep going round and round and round.
It's unfortunate because as a country, we know for sure we have budgetary constraints right now affecting all sectors. But at the same time, we need to fight corruption. At the same time, we need to move cases. We need to, like now, I'm a practicing lawyer right now. And for the past, I don't know how many months, the Court of Appeal is completely non-functional right now. No case is being heard, nothing is moving in the Court of Appeal.
So are we fooling Kenyans when we say this is a fight on corruption, DCI, DPP, and the arms of government, judiciary to be specific, should all do their work? A month from now, or next year, which is not so far away, when we're having this conversation, we'll be looking at it from a different perspective, how judiciary needs to be empowered, because financially we have constraints.
And this is where now probably the people at the Treasury need to look at what are the priorities, which areas are critical in the country. Like, for example, the health sector, yes, is critical, but the judiciary and hearing of cases is also very important. So we look at priorities in terms of where, as a country, do we need to put funds into. And so that is where I think we need to sit as a country, empower the judiciary, but at the same time not neglecting other areas as well.
All right, as you exit...
Ask a question.
Yes.
You asked that why is he not accompanied by the other commissioners as he's speaking?
Right.
I don't think that even the president of this country needs to be flanked by ministers to give a speech or to make to pass a message to the country. So he stands and he's the president of the judiciary and he represents them. So by him speaking, it is the judiciary speaking. He doesn't need to be flanked by...
I asked that question because there's this perception that there's some division within the Judicial Service Commission, and I'm just wondering how best he can work and also the judiciary can work in a situation that they find themselves in. But even as you respond to that, I want us to talk about the independence of the institutions and especially the judiciary. A while back, the JSC nominated 11 Court of Appeal judges, 10 judges to the Employment and Labor Relations Court, and then 20 to the Land Court. But now, so far, that's a total of 41. So far, the President has declined to approve, saying that some of the judges have integrity issues. I mean, how does that sit with the independence of a judiciary? And also talking about the budget cut, how even is it possible to have all these 41 judges appointed and paid if the judiciary is not able to foot its bills?
I listened to Senator Mutula talking about addressing the same issue last night on our television. And I think he was so right, because the president decides or declines to append his signature to some of those appointees. Yet these are people who are already practicing somewhere. So what message are we then getting? Are you telling us that the cases that they're presiding over are null and void, or the decisions that they make in those cases are null and void? Because if you decide and say that they are corrupt or they have other issues, so they cannot be appointed to these new positions, what about the positions they are holding now? Because they're already coming from certain positions and being elevated to this new position. It is not like they're coming from without. So are you telling us that even in the positions where they are acting, they're working at now, the decisions they are making should not be respected and should not be upheld? You know, it then makes it murky, because they're coming up with decisions, they're coming up with judgment, and people are suffering or benefiting from those judgments. So when now you come and tell us they're not fit to be elevated to this level, what then happens to all these decisions they're making at the level they're working in now? You know?
So, Honorable Rigathi, even after Rosabuya has painted for us such an image like that, is judiciary under fire, or is it being crippled because genuinely as a country we are having financial problems? Or this is judiciary suffering because of an individual and the politics involved around it?
No, far from it. I don't think anybody is trying to cripple the judiciary. We have serious financial constraints in this country. It is out there in the streets, madam, you know. Even Kenyans themselves are feeling it. And this pinch must be felt by everybody. It cannot be that Mama Mboga is feeling it and the Chief Justice and the judiciary will not feel it.
So the executive is not out to get the judiciary?
No, I don't think so. As far as the president declining to appoint the judges, see, these three arms of government are not at war with each other. They are complementary. If the executive has information about the integrity of certain people who have been proposed, I think it will be very irresponsible of the president to go ahead and appoint people when he has information by virtue of his office.
But the same can be said about other institutions in Parliament.
He is in charge of intelligence, he is in charge of security, he has more information than any one of us. And I think it will be responsible on his part to go ahead and make an appointment of somebody who has been recommended when he has adverse information that that person is not fit to be in that office, only to start the process of removing that person after they have been appointed.
But Rigathi, if that was the case, institutions would be working in Kenya as a nation would be better if he applied the same attitude. The fact that you can hire 41 judges because one person he can't find anyone that is ethical. The same can be applied for institutions, for parliament.
I think, Madam, what the Chief Justice and the JSC need to do is to not fight, just listen to the executive, have a sitting with the president. I'm sure he'll avail to them the information that the government has, the executive has, and I'm sure once that is available, they'll see why he's declining to make those appointments. I don't think the president, in his own way of doing things, would be malicious and say that we can't appoint these people, they have integrity issues when they don't have. I think it's a question of reaching out. I think, as I said, the three arms of government, the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature, they should work together. Let us have a spirit of consultation and assisting each other. Because the judiciary has no capacity to penetrate on issues of integrity. They require to be assisted by the executive. They must go through vetting. It's important.
Before I come to you, Fatma Gedi, a former commissioner, is that even legal that the president can revise what the Judicial Service Commission has recommended?
Even before you ask him, let me say, even in Parliament, when people come for vetting, we ask the NSIS to give us a report on integrity. And it forms part of our discussion. And we are independent, but because we don't have the capacity, we don't have a capacity as Parliament to look in deep into people's issues. We ask them to give us that service, and we consider that vetting.
Then should they be allowed to perform their duties as the judges that the duties they perform now, if you have those integrity issues against them? So they're allowed to pass the judgment?
Just before you, because we need to tie this point. Honorable Gachagua, even as you said that, when it comes to approval hearings, they're provided for in law, and the National Assembly has that mandate to scrutinize even the appointment of a Chief Justice. But when it comes to judges, it is the Judicial Service Commission to do its due diligence, do the interviews, and nominate to the President for appointment. Is there any room to revise what the Judicial Service Commission
the Judicial
has recommended?
Service Commission has no capacity on matters of integrity. It will be irresponsible on the part of the President to allow people to be appointed with integrity issues simply because the JSC has that prerogative. It is upon him to provide that information to them and for them to consider. And once they see that there are serious integrity issues, then they'll think of what to do.
Please respond to that and also tell me the independence.
In the issue of judges, the duty of interviewing, appointing, and finally forwarding the names to the president lies with the Judicial Service Commission. What it means is that as they do the interviews, the Judicial Service Commission relies on either the security, other apparatus like NIS to provide background information on individuals. So that as they do these interviews, they are aware that some has the following issues. So they would have dismissed some at that particular level. So we assume that by the time they make that announcement of the 40 judges, they've done background information and forwarding the names as required by the Constitution to the President for appointment. So the President's duty, and this is a matter which has gone to court, and the court has already ruled on it, is to make the announcement and appoint formally.
And these integrity issues...
I don't think the issue of integrity then comes in at the level of the president. Probably, and I agree with Mheshimiwa, maybe what we are facing here is a lot of financial constraints. Like now, 40 judges translates to about $1 million per judge, so that's about 400 million per month. How much is that per year? Times 10.
You taught English.
So times 10, for example, it comes to
480.
Is it 4 billion per year? So it's really
why doesn't the same matter
integrity issues?
The question is then, maybe there should have been a zinc between the office of the president and the GSC as to how many judges are affordable to the country at this particular moment. Maybe that's where the disconnect was. So that the president is looking at the cost. I don't think it's so much about integrity, really.
No,
because as Rosa said,
I don't think the president of the country
most of the point
integrity as an excuse to deal with the
But Sam, integrity, listen to me, integrity will matter whether you're a magistrate, whether you're a high court judge, whether you're a judge of court of appeal, whether you are, so integrity, we are not saying that integrity does not matter at these lower levels and only matter at a certain level.
Okay.
Because if you're disqualifying somebody because of integrity issues and yet allowing them to still be a high court judge, what are you telling us, really?
All right. I want us to take a look at what Kenyans are saying on Twitter. You had something to say. You'll see after the feedback.
Okay.
What Kenyans are saying on Twitter at CitizenTV Kenya. This is Kosgei Rajan. It's just right for Maraga to raise alarm in that manner. In today's government, if you don't fight for your existence, you will become extinct.
All right, let's. Sean Andrew on Twitter says the concerns by the judiciary needs to be addressed urgently. If it is true that the executive is jeopardizing the judiciary because of personal interest, as it is being claimed, then we are in for tough times ahead.
Bujibutu. Yes, the executive should respect judiciary, but the problem arises when this organ isn't dealing with corruption properly. The war, Mr. President, and Kenyans won't. So, still blaming it for the corruption you see in the country.
Robert, good morning. You say, for crying out loud, Maraga is the president of the judiciary. His office needs to be treated with the respect it deserves. There is nothing wrong with him addressing the public. He is accountable to the people of Kenya.
On SMS 22422, what do you say? We begin with this one, takes a while. Victor from Nairobi. Parliament give themselves a budget of 42 billion shillings. The wage bill is 6 billion shillings. Why didn't the members of Parliament cut their budget before cutting judiciary budget? I think Parliament is yet to hasn't cut any budget. It is a proposal from the National Treasury.
Okay, let's take a look at Nixon's comment. Whoever is concerned should be fair to the judiciary, whereas fairness does not mean everyone gets the same. That fairness means everyone gets what they need. Let the judiciary's necessities not be compromised.
And then finally, on 22422, comment from Eldred. It appears the executive is blaming the CJ personally for expenses incurred during the 26th October 2017 repeat poll. The legislature cannot be expected to undertake austerity measures for what has already been utilized. The arms of government should simply swallow their pride and serve Kenyans as a priority.
All right.
Wow, swallow their sense of pride. We have to take a short break. When we return, we continue the conversation, but now into something else that is to do with the census. We'll be looking at the numbers and how they're going to impact your lives, whether it's politically, socially, or otherwise.
Economically.
Indeed. So, back in a moment.